Hi, welcome to Consciously Healthy. I'm Laura.
And I'm Claire.
How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
I'm all right. It's been a busy week, and I've got a sore neck.
Oh.
But I think we're going to talk about necks in another podcast.
Lovely. So what we are going to talk about today, though, is traditional seasons of the year and how they can actually support you in your process.
And with your health.
And with your health.
What's your opinion on the seasons, your personal experience of the seasons?
That's a really good question. They change.
Yes, as do you. Do you enjoy it, or do you?
I do. I'm a big fan of summer. I'm a middling fan of autumn, and I'm not a fan of winter or spring. You?
I used to really dislike autumn and winter, but since doing this piece of work, I've really started to embrace it. So I'm hoping this is going to be a useful podcast.
How exciting. So this started for us a couple of years ago when we started hanging out in Glastonbury. Lots started for us when we started hanging out in Glastonbury. And actually, I think our first foray into the traditional seasons in the British Isles, that's what we're specifically talking about. So I guess they're the kind of, you'd call them the Celtic seasons, really, the traditions that aren't really observed much in a mainstream kind of way. Was we got invited to spring equinox celebration in a forest with a load of druids, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh,
how did that even happen?
I honestly can't remember, but I just remember being up there at like midnight and it was absolutely beautiful.
The only thing I remember is the mead, drinking mead.
Out of a horn. And we were actually in a place which is quite close to where we're based, which is a beautiful 3,000-year-old yew forest that's actually mentioned in the Doomsday Book. It was absolutely breathtaking, wasn't it?
It was a lot of fun.
And that was our first foray. And there's quite a lot made of seasons or seasonal work in the natural, sort of the naturopathic world, because we talk about doing cleanses around spring, around autumn. In summer's okay, but definitely not in winter.
Yep.
Being very seasonal with your vegetables and with your food. So we do talk quite a lot about seasons and the effect. So then when we were in Glastonbury a couple of years ago, we started to find out a little bit more about the Celtic Wheel. And the Celtic Wheel is actually 8 seasons. And the 8 seasons throughout the year, so it works out at one every 6 weeks. And we actually talk about the British Isles being called Bridget's Isles, as she was the overall goddess of the British Isles, Bridget's Isles. And so when we talk about the goddess, ultimately what we're talking about is, it's like a different name for Mother Earth or Mother Nature in all her glorious forms. So it's quite exciting, actually, because what I loved about finding out this, about the wheel, was how it does interlink into mainstream culture, but actually how the history of differing religions or invading cultures into a country starts to change and evolve the original traditions. So the new year actually starts for the Celtic Wheel on the 31st of October. That's the end of the old year, and it's called Samhain. And of course, it's now been replaced with Halloween. So it's Samhain, Halloween, it's, kind of similar. And the reason that, and it's about death. So hence the skeletons and hence the, witches and stuff. Because the big part of Samhain is you celebrate death and acknowledge death before you celebrate life.
Yeah.
So the idea behind Samhain is not only is Mother Nature starting to die off and we're seeing the transition of things dying, it is a time where we can start to look in our lives from a place of our emotional health or physical health and see what isn't serving us. and actually allow that to die off.
Yeah. And I also think from a health point of view, we talked earlier about seasonal vegetables, and it's very common to decorate a pumpkin, but actually eating these root vegetables around the end of October, this is the time that we should be eating them for our health. So it's not just an emotional, there's also
the physical
in the seasons that can support our health.
So we have then 6 weeks of Samhain, and we come into the 21st of December, which is Yule. And of course then, Christmas as we now know it has been celebrated around this time for millennia, and a whole stack of different cultures. So the Romans had Saturnalia. It's just there's always been a culture that has had some sort of celebration around Yule. So Yule is actually the 21st of December, which is also the winter solstice.
Yes.
So it's this, the idea of Yule is we are starting to, we're starting to look at the darkness. We're in the darkness. It's the longest, what's the shortest day, longest night, isn't it? It's the biggest period of dark in the year. And so that also means turning inwards and about really dropping into ourselves. It's dark. We're not supposed to be going out. We're not supposed to be starting new things and being more jovial. It is the time of rest. And that in the Celtic Wheel, we talk about the goddess appearing as in her form as the Calyx, which is the goddess of bone and stone. And the element is actually air. So if you think about a really cold, snowy day where all you kind of hear is the that's the quality of the Calyx.
Yeah, but it's a real time of reflection, isn't it?
Real time of reflection.
And also like celebration as well. I mean, we decorate Christmas trees, but this is to celebrate that there is, the evergreens, there is still life in this very deep stillness, quiet, there is still life.
And we're kind of praising the life that's around and basically, essentially putting out the wishes for a good summer, because if you think about the origin sort of agrarian people, they would have needed a good summer, hard winter, good summer, bountiful crops.
I guess it's why we celebrate robins and things, isn't it, on Christmas cards?
Absolutely. So it's like we still get these little traditions coming in. It's really exciting.
Yeah, and eating things like prunes and figs and fruit that has been stewed and mulled and
fermented, so the alcohol. It's like it really goes back to our roots. And so this is a time where we've made the decisions of what can die off, and now we have essentially like a mourning, actually, a going within, but it doesn't have to be that miserable. It is just a quietness, a stillness, so that our minds can replenish, our bodies can replenish. So then 6 weeks later we come round to the 1st of February, which is Imbolc. And Imbolc is the beginnings of spring, so it's called the quickening. So everything has been, in hibernation, it's been nothing in the earth, and now the shoots are starting to rise. And so Imbolc is the time that we're naturally kind of coming out of this long winter, and we're starting to think, okay, what does my year look like? What projects do I want to have on the go? What do I need to do? In terms of, it's still pretty cold here in the UK, but, in terms of our bodies as well, maybe people haven't really got off the couch in January, but now in February is the time I'm going to get my eating
It's
right.
2nd of February, isn't it, Imbolc?
1st or 2nd, yeah.
Yeah.
And then so 6 weeks after that, so we have 6 weeks of kind of the new beginnings and putting these new things into place. And then we come round to the spring equinox. Around the 20th of March. Spring cleaning. And, the equinox it's a time of balance again. And so this is really, we also have Mothering Sunday around here, and this is the time of, it's not the deep fertility, but it's this kind of, how would you describe it? Life is really starting to show itself again. And so projects would start to take life now. We've planned them in Imbolc, or we've dreamt them in the winter, we've planned them in Imbolc, and now they're starting to take root and get started, procreate, I guess. That's what our ideas are doing. And spring cleaning, so spring cleaning our bodies, spring cleaning our homes.
Great time of year to start looking at liver cleansing and cleaning up after the sort of the heaviness of the winter, and then the foods are starting to change again. So yeah,
it's all getting lighter. And then so we've had Mothering Sunday, of course, and Easter has been put somewhere around the spring equinox. And if we look at even the word Easter, it's from oestra, which is from estrogen. So it is this time of fertility. It is this time of
new birthing or pregnancy rather than new birth.
Pregnancy.
Yeah.
So then we come round to the 1st of May, which is the Beltane, the 1st to the 4th of May, which is Beltane. And Beltane was the thing that hooked me back into the Celtic calendar, because Beltane has really started to take roots again in mainstream culture. And so Beltane is like this very sensual, sexual, it's like it's fertility, but like from the sexual aspect, not from the naive lambs just, jaunting around. It's like, this is the real time, the nature, the flowers are all growing, it's
warming up, so we're starting to take more clothes off.
Absolutely. So this is the time where we really start diving into projects or health or whatever. And so we have another 6 weeks of this, and then we come round to the summer solstice.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're around about the 21st of June. And again, this is a time of balance, but with the brightness, and
celebrating the light. And then 6 weeks of that, and we come into Lammas, which is around the 1st of August. And Lammas is the original harvest festival. So it's when the grain is all cut, and we're celebrating the abundance, the real abundance of nature, of our lives, of it's just what we're reaping, fruits
what we've
of our
sowed.
labour.
Exactly. And so in terms of these projects, if they're cyclical, we're starting to see them growing, and fruits of our labour.
And of course, it's the summer holidays, so it is a time of, it's almost play. It's a playtime.
And so if you put all that good work in with your spring detox, you then get the fruits of your labour, because your body feels great, you're on holiday in your bikini. And then the last season in the Celtic festival wheel is actually the autumn equinox, which again is this time of balance, but again with this turning more towards the darkness. So this is the time where we start to decide what to let go of. It's a real letting go. It's not the fully allowing things to die off, but it might be, for an example, okay, my relationship's not working, I'm clocking it, I know it, I'm going to start putting it into place, and then come October, I'm done, I'm out of there. Projects, foods, this kind of thing, it's about taking stock and seeing what isn't working. So we actually write quite a bit about the Celtic Wheel on our blogs, so
and
on Facebook. So check out our website balancewellness.co.uk, and also Facebook, we're balancewellness.uk.
Yes, and subscribe here.
For more of our stuff.
Inspiration.
See you later.